As Robert's wife, I've lived through 30 years in the blink of an eye. Our kids have flown the nest, and we've begun living with my in-laws. It was when Alicia, my mother-in-law who runs this house, fell ill. I'm bringing home 10 colleagues, get a barbecue party ready. I'd been waiting for this chance. Finally, I can say it. I want a divorce. What? What are you talking about? Just get ready for the party. Anyway, I'm leaving, so feel free to do as you please. What happens next? I don't care. After hanging up, I quickly pack my bags and leave the house. I had already been preparing for the divorce. I am Grace, a 54-year-old housewife. I have a 30-year-old son and a 28-year-old daughter, both independent. I grew up in a single-parent home, but thanks to my mom's wealthy family, we never lacked anything. I attended a girls' school from middle school to university and got married to my husband, whom I met through a friend right after graduation. It was actually love at first sight for him, and he pursued me passionately. Back then, it was an hour's drive between his house and mine. He would drive over every day after work to see me, always bringing gifts for me and my mom. My mom fell for him first, completely smitten. Grace, he's a good man. You don't find men so thoughtful these days. Coming to see you every day even though he's tired from work, you must be love. I think happiness for a woman is being with someone who loves her. My mom said, encouraging me to accept his feelings. My husband's family had made their fortune in real estate. I met his parents after he proposed. The in-laws were very proud, thinking they were superior to others. From the first meeting, they seemed difficult, and I didn't like them. As expected, they said. A single mother's daughter, huh? Robert could have done better. And our family has built a real estate empire worth over $10 million. Don't expect any help for your mom. We're allowing the marriage because Robert insists. But remember, what's Robert's is ours, not the wife's. It felt like they accused me of marrying him for money. Just out of college, I couldn't argue and just clung to my husband's hand, shrinking away. Looking back, maybe I should have run away then, but I believed he was my destiny and went ahead with the marriage. My mom spent so much on my dowry, enough to build a house, to ensure I wouldn't be indebted to my in-laws. When we arrived at our new home, Alicia was waiting. Oh, Grace, you brought such a big dresser? We don't need this, it's in the way. She wouldn't let the dresser in the house. Despite negotiations, Alicia firmly refused, and I felt sorry for the movers. We managed to get just the dresser in, and the rest was sent back to my mom. Returning my belongings, filled with so many emotions, without ever using them, made me feel incredibly unfilial. I couldn't stop crying as I watched the truck leave. Alicia then opened and checked all my luggage, which included clothes I'd liked since my student days. What's this? Vulgar colors and patterns. They don't fit this house. You're Robert's wife now. Be mindful of what you wear. She threw away almost everything. While I was being treated this way, my husband Robert was relaxing with his father Cordell. Young and unable to stand up to Alicia or loudly call for my absent husband, I was overwhelmed by her presence. The in-laws, while treating me this way, took me to various parties. This is our daughter-in-law. Finally, a good woman for Robert, and introduced me. Now I can rest easy. Really, such a lovely wife brightens up the home. You'll be socializing with these people from now on, so make sure to make a good impression. You're from an all-girls school, so at least you have proper manners, which is a relief. It's good that you are able to attend school despite being from a single-parent home. If it weren't for that, we would have refused the marriage. Be grateful to your mom. The in-laws were really good at keeping up appearances. People around took their words at face value, saying things like, Robert is even more secure now with such a lovely wife. Despite being looked down upon and treated poorly by the in-laws, my husband was completely oblivious. He may seem cold, but in reality, he's head over heels in love with me. This led to a life where I felt restrained. On our wedding day, my husband said, "Now that Grace is my wife, you know what that means, right? From now on, you can't go to your mom's house alone. And don't call your mom without my permission." What? I can't go home or talk to my mom anymore? Seeing me almost in tears. No, I just mean don't do it alone. I'll take you to see your mom on days off, and you can call her when you want to, just let me know, he hurriedly said. I had thought I could never go home again, so I was relieved that I could go and call as long as my husband was with me. I understand. I worry that Mom might be lonely since I got married. So please take me to see her sometimes. Of course, she's important to you, Grace. That's how our married life began. My husband was so busy with work and often out at night for social gatherings, so I mostly spent weekdays alone at home. As long as I did the cleaning, laundry, and prepared sandwiches for breakfast and lunch, my husband was content and didn't complain, so I could live at my own pace. On weekends when he was off work, we always went out together. He liked to pick out my clothes and kept buying me things he liked. You almost had to throw everything away when you came here, right? I felt sorry for you. You even had to give up the clothes you wore on our date. But now, I'm happy I can choose what I want you to wear. He was always in a good mood. Honestly, some of the clothes weren't really my taste, but showing any sign of disapproval would immediately sour his mood, so I was careful. I wore these clothes to his company parties and gatherings of the wealthy, always smiling beside my husband. Was this the married life I had imagined? I had my doubts, but I was content with my comfortable life and kind husband. I received a lot of guidance from Alicia on how to be a wife. There were many occasions to invite people over, and I was often called to help at the in-laws busy with preparations. Alicia, who had learned from famous chefs, made me thoroughly memorize her hospitality dishes, and I had to perfect them after being taught once. She also taught me about changing indoor decorations with the seasons and various annual events. In reality, Alicia directed everything, and I just ran around doing as told. Having married without any work experience, I obediently followed her orders without questioning why she never helped. My mom had told me, "When you get married, listen to what his mom says. Never talk back." So I believed that was what a wife should do. After 30 years of marriage, I can now handle everything, even before Alicia instructs me. As Robert's wife, I've always acted as Alicia said, accepting it as natural, but not everyone agreed. That would be my son and daughter. Blessed with 2 children, a 30-year-old son and a 28-year-old daughter. They loved the in-laws when they were little, but began to notice how I was being mistreated as they grew up. "Hey Grandma, why do you only tell Mom what to do but never do it yourself? At home, Mom eats with us. Why is she always in the kitchen when we come here? What about Mom's meal? Dad is always just chatting with Grandpa, right?" Seeing my children like this made me realize the absurdity of running around for the in-laws and not even having time to eat. Then, as Cordell retired at 70 and my husband took over the family business, the in-laws decided to exchange houses because theirs was too big without consulting me. The moving day was set without my input, and even my favorite furniture, including the cherished dresser from my mom, was thrown away. It was one thing I had insisted on bringing with me when I got married. We left our house empty for the in-laws while we were to live in their old house with used furniture. You're lucky, you know. Most of the furniture we used was custom-made and high quality. You should take good care of it. That might be true, but that doesn't mean you had to throw away what I was using without asking. Upset about that old dresser we threw out? Such a cheap-looking thing didn't suit the house. It made it look poor, so I threw it out for you. That dresser was the only important thing I brought with me when I married. As long as I'm here, I will never have freedom. It's not too late. I want to live my own life. That's what I truly felt. Eventually, as the company grew, my husband couldn't manage it alone. Our eldest son, who was working at a different company, came back to help. He negotiated with my husband to handle his portion as a separate company, becoming the president, though technically a subsidiary of my husband's firm. A few years later, my husband told our daughter, a teacher, to join the family business. She had just achieved her lifelong dream of becoming a teacher. I told my husband it wasn't right to force her to give up her dream, but he wouldn't listen. After several discussions, it was decided that she would join similarly as a separate company. I apologized to my children, wanting them to live freely, but they said, "Now we can protect Mom if anything happens. You don't have to strain yourself anymore. Live as you like." Yet, finding the right time to talk to my husband seemed impossible. While I was waiting, Cordell developed dementia. The retirement move and not being informed about the grandchildren taking over the business seemed to have sapped his will to live, accelerating the progression. Alicia couldn't handle his care alone, so he was moved to a facility, where he soon passed away from pneumonia. With Cordell gone, Alicia, feeling lonely, changed her attitude and started cozying up to me. I thought of getting back at her and my husband. I decided to play the dutiful wife and suggested living with Alicia. Maybe as a sign of gratitude, my husband suggested bringing my mom, who had become frail, to live near us. I was never allowed to visit her alone, whether she was ill or hospitalized, so I thought maybe my husband had become kinder. But the apartment he offered her was a 50-year-old one-room apartment, despite having much better properties available, and he intended to charge her rent. My mom had been living comfortably in a 3-room apartment, remodeling it to her liking. Seeing the room we brought her to, she cried. I thought I could finally do something for my mom, but this treatment was unbelievable. I've reached my limit. Months passed as I waited for the right opportunity. Every day was depressing, but I couldn't let my husband or Alicia suspect anything. I continued to play the role of the wife they had trained me to be. Then winter came. Alicia fell ill with a bad cold and was bedridden, and my long-awaited chance arrived. Knowing I was caring for Alicia, my husband called. "I'm bringing home 10 colleagues. Get a barbecue party ready." There had often been such sudden commands. A few guests were manageable, but sometimes it was 10 or more. Each time, under Alicia's direction, I would rush to shop, cook, and set at the table for hospitality. But today, Alicia's watchful eye was absent. I had been waiting for a chance like this. No way! How can I prepare for 10 guests on such short notice? What? Are you even a wife? I want a divorce. What? What are you talking about? I told you to get ready for the party. Enough! You don't like it? Fine. I want a divorce. Anyway, I'm leaving, so do whatever you want with your party. Do you even understand what you're saying? Abandoning your duties as a wife. Do you know what will happen next? His low, intimidating voice showed his anger at my defiance. But I won't be defeated by that anymore. What happens next? I don't care. Anyway, I'm tired of being a slave in this house. I want my freedom. I quickly packed my things and left the house. I had already been preparing for the divorce. My children were supporting me in my new chapter in life. Once I declared divorce and left the house, all I needed to do was make a phone call to my lawyer. My husband, returning home to find me gone, was speechless. He rushed to tell Alicia everything. The two of them couldn't understand the situation, as they thought I was a wife who would always obey. Really? She left? Why? Was it the party? What? Grace left? Abandoned the guests? A wife wouldn't do that, right? It's a lie, right? They were shocked. They had only seen me as a wife who couldn't do anything on her own, which allowed me to prepare for leaving without them noticing. I moved into the apartment my husband had eagerly prepared for our daughter's return to take over the company. In fact, she had planned to live with me from the start and had requested the layout accordingly. The extra room, presented as a guest room, was actually for me. Unknowingly, my husband remodeled and prepared a new home for my daughter and me. My son appointed me as an executive in his company, creating a source of income for me. I had unknowingly gained knowledge in accounting and management while helping my husband with his business. My son noticed, "You don't need to be modest. You can do a lot, Mom," and encouraged me. To my surprise, once I started working, I realized it felt like an extension of what I had been doing, assisting my husband from a business perspective. Thinking I was only capable of housework, this was a pleasant discovery. My children's decision to run separate companies was all for this moment. Once I took action, my husband realized too late. Now he's just a figurehead president, as the main businesses are managed by our children's companies. My husband's income-generating business was distributed to his children's companies by his own hands. From now on, my husband has no choice but to act as the company president. Alicia became bedridden with shock after being betrayed by her beloved grandchildren. She relied on me for everything, even her medication, so now she can't do anything on her own. My husband doesn't even know her doctor. Recently, I met Alicia's doctor, who was worried as she hadn't been getting her diabetes medication and was in a dangerous state. My husband wasn't taking action, so nothing was progressing. They are in this situation because they relied on me for everything. It's their responsibility. My mom moved into the house Alicia used to live in and is now living comfortably. When the house was empty, I have so many memories of raising children here. I convinced my husband not to sell it and made it my property. Finally, I could do something for my mom. Thanks to my children, I've gained my freedom and am living my life. There are still many things I want to do and places I want to visit. While my mom is still able, I want to travel and enjoy time with her and my children.